Okay, so happy Monday morning, everyone. This is a meeting of the steering committee of the Vermont Climate Council. We've got three steering committee members here with us, which I think makes us a touch short of a quorum, or let's just treat it that way out of caution. But Joey, thanks for being here. Kelly, Secretary Moore, thanks everyone. Let me share, and thanks Annette Smith, Billy Coster, others who are joining us today. Um, If you don't have it handy, here's our agenda. Um, and since we don't have a quorum, let's just be cautious about like officially making any decisions, but we can definitely have conversations and you all can provide input. Mostly what we want to do is start prepping up the September Climate Council meeting. So that's really what we want to do. And then there's a piece about new counselors coming on that we want to check in on, both ensuring awareness, but also there's a pending, at least one pending appointment that we want to talk about. And that's it. Public comment for those who are here who would like to do that. We'll make sure there's time for that. Um, Sound good? Okay. All right. So as you can see in this little agenda item here for the, we're going to skip over the minutes and that kind of stuff. There's two pieces that and Jane can speak to this, or Liz can speak to this, or Secretary Moore. There's two pieces that we expect would be helpful for September, and then we wanted to talk about some others. Um, there's even more than when I last saw this. Great. So one is making sure we're getting the frequency of meetings, both you all as steering committee meeting and the council, right. Another is the climate assessment presentation, and Jane and Liz can speak to that. Um, and then another one is the survey results and the engagement work that's going on um, around the comprehensive energy plan and related efforts. So there's been a fair amount of work happening there, and um, Jane and Sophie, who's not here, will be able to speak to that. So those are three things just to get us going for potential agenda items for September. So let me just pause for a second. I'm going to stop sharing. And Joey, Kelly, and Julie, what are you thinking about? Oh, and Jane, you've got your hand up. Sorry. Do you want to jump in quickly?
Yes, sorry. Can't be quick when I'm driving.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I just wanted to clarify a little bit of the stuff on the agenda for folks in case there was any lingering questions. The Vermont climate assessment is conducted by UVM and is not the climate assessment that we rely on for the climate action plan. But regardless, they've reached out to us and asked for a venue to communicate about the completion and finalization of that. Professor Gillian Galford, and then Amanda. I'm sorry, I'm forgetting her last name. She's the director of policy with the Gund Institute. So that would be one presentation. And then just to clarify on the engagement, there's two things. There's a presentation on what will be the completed statewide survey, focus groups, and follow-up polling that we did related to climate action and climate solutions that is both feeding like state efforts broadly, and then it's also feeding the comprehensive energy plan. And then in addition, the comprehensive energy plan has kicked off and they have their own public engagement plan, of which that polling is part of, but there's a broader effort. And there was a question, I think Joey brought it up, around how are they learning from and using the engagement from the climate action plan? How are the two things working together? So both Sophie and Ricarda Erickson and TJ Poor will lead all of that.
Sounds great. Thanks for that clarification, Jane. That's much better. All right. Um, so with that, steering committee members, what do you think? Um, do you have reactions to those things? Are there other things you'd like to see happen in September? What do we think?
David, can I just add on the meeting frequency item?
Yeah.
We didn't have anything on the books on our calendars past September for steering committee and climate council meetings. I just didn't schedule it as farther out beyond that. So I just wanted to confirm with everyone here that like the meeting frequency would continue of what has been steering committee meetings monthly, and then climate council quarterly. I was thinking I could probably schedule that throughout the winter and spring, and then we revisit the scheduling for summer, but I just want to check in with folks about that.
Super. Got that. Okay. Well, I'm happy to start with that as sort of low-hanging fruit if people have any thoughts about that, and or anything else on your minds about what to do in September. I recognize you're all just like jumping into this. Secretary Moore?
This is maybe a question for Jane as much as anyone, but I suspect the timing of the September meeting will also line up fairly well with the release of the greenhouse gas inventory, and perhaps a presentation on that as well for the council would be useful.
Thanks, Julie. Yes, we're shooting for the end of the month. So maybe, Julie, and this is for all of you, we decided to hold on presenting modeling.
Jane, your phone is breaking up a little bit.
As well. So there might be a big data modeling presentation for the December meeting might be better, but we could.
So I think what she was saying is they won't have the modeling ready, so maybe they'll do a big modeling and greenhouse gas inventory thing in December. However, you could split those up.
Yeah, that's fine too. It just feels like the, obviously that feels to me central to the climate council's work, right? Is the greenhouse gas inventory and that piece. And so just making sure that that folks have that information and understand where we stand, but also there's a lot of work that's gone into, and I think Casey spoke to it some, but trying to maybe not recreate, but reestablish and maintain some of the federal modeling tools we've relied on historically to do this work, that were then abandoned by the current federal administration. And so it just feels like making sure the Climate Council has that context and background, given the importance of the greenhouse gas inventory.
Thanks, Julie. Well, I'm noting it here, and then I think, yeah, well, go ahead, Joy. Yeah.
Well, I don't know, Jane, if you're in a better space, or
I
Julie, I
think
don't
she
know.
fell off. She fell off.
Okay. Or Julie, if you can speak to what she was saying about the modeling, and the timing of that. I don't know if Secretary Moore, you know what Jane was saying.
A bit. I won't know the specifics. So that all of those modeling tools were moved over to the University of Maryland, as well as a couple of key staff, I believe, from EPA left EPA and have been hired on by the university. And so they are working to, in effect, provide a continuous data set, continuous and consistent data set. And this is, as folks may recall, these SIT modules are most important in the LULUCF sector. So the land use pieces, including forestry and agriculture, which are obviously significant here in Vermont. And so just that continuity that they're working to reestablish. But I also think understanding how other states are or aren't using these same tools going forward is going to be really important. As I say, this shows up in other places. I know, and maybe, I don't know if Jane or Liz are available, but to be able to speak to, EAN obviously puts out an annual progress report, and we're going to end up out of step with that because of this timing issue around getting these tools reestablished. And so there's a lot of challenges in the space right now around producing the inventory. And I think it's important for the council to sort of have that awareness about what we're doing, to maintain consistency, but the impacts it's having as we work through some unforeseen challenges.
Thanks, Julie. Jane, if you're back on, happy to sort of pick up where you left off there, where you were mentioning that maybe hold a greenhouse gas inventory thing until December when you could do something with modeling, but then you fell off.
Yeah, thank you so much, David. I actually could hear you summarizing what I suggested, and it was
Yeah.
what I was trying to get to.
Okay.
I know at our last steering committee meeting in July, we discussed, and there were questions about updated pathways modeling for the business as usual and some additional scenario work we've been doing. That won't be done till end of October. And so that's the part where I was wondering if folks would like it broken up into the inventory in September and the modeling, drawing a distinction from the fact that the inventory is the sort of backstop and the modeling is the work that we do to understand where we're going with our targets. That we could do it all together in December, but that also might feel quite big. And Julie was speaking very correctly about the challenges around the inventory and the reasons that we're behind because we normally release it in June. And that is those SIT modules. There's actually, just to draw a distinction, there's the downscaled data, and that is what we rely on for the LULUCF sector. But the SIT modules themselves, we use for all the sectors, and those are updated with emissions factors and change annually. And that is what we only just received. And so we're updating much of that right now. I do think it's challenging with EAN, and we've tried to reconcile that, but those reports will be released at the same time, and would pretty much guarantee they'll have different numbers because of it. So just working with EAN to work on a disclaimer that very clearly states that this is not using the estate inventory this year.
Thanks, Jane. All right. Joey and others, do you have an instinct about whether to do some greenhouse gas conversation, inventory conversation in September, and then circle back with modeling in September, in December? Or would you like to hold it all? And any thoughts?
It seems like a lot to do all at once, and I don't know if Jane, you said that the inventory will be done by the end of September. I mean,
Or the
will it
end
be
of this
done?
month, I hope. Was it
No,
the end of this month?
it's end of September is when our goal to publish it.
Oh,
It's going out for review though with partners by August 16th is our internal date. So um, I suspect I can confirm, and we can confirm at our September steering committee meeting that should be on the agenda. So why don't, if that, I kind of agree with Joey, and I suspect Secretary Moore feels this way too, that it's a lot of information all at once in December. So I'll work with Erica, who does our inventory, to confirm if we can present in September on the inventory specifically. Um, and then confirm that with you all at our September steering committee meeting.
thanks, Jane. Okay. So it sounds like if we can, let's do the inventory in September, and then circle back with modeling in December. Okay, great.
And then, I mean, Jane, if the timing is the end of September, I know we have locked into the 21st, but we reschedule and push it out a couple weeks so that it's finished? And then I don't know if we'd also then want to have the EAN annual progress report overview to sort of square those things. A, get an update from EAN on their work, and B, square what Jane noted as the disclaimer and the differences between the two. Like, I don't know if we're wedded to the 21st of September, if we want to ensure that that work is finalized.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I agree, Joey. I wonder about moving the meeting out a few weeks. I mean, I appreciate the climate assessment from UVM and the comprehensive energy plan, but also feel like the greenhouse gas inventory is sort of one of the core responsibilities of the Climate Council. And this feels like a particularly challenging moment for the inventory just because of all the changes at the federal level, and making sure counselors are comfortable with what is in, like, sort of what the changes or at least new owners of models and model inputs are going to be feels important.
That sounds
Okay.
great to me.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think moving it out would be great.
just bumping it by like 2 weeks, if that, or whatever, Jane, whatever you think, where it would be done. And then, yeah, I'd like to just propose that somebody from EAN provides an update on their annual progress report and the sort of, again, squaring what you guys are working out in terms of being clear about the differences in the modeling, just so people are aware.
Okay. So in summary, it sounds like there's an appetite, if needed, to push the meeting out a few weeks so that the inventory will be ready. I want to double check for everyone. It makes sense to also include um, whatever EAN has at that point too. We could have that, and you'd have the UVM, a fair amount of presentation, but we could have all that. Does that make sense? Sure. Okay. All right. Anything else about the meeting? And just in terms of timing, do you all, the steering committee, are you okay if internally with Liz and Jane and everyone, we figure out the date change if we need to? It's okay, you guys. I mean, we're not making decisions today anyway because we don't have quorum, but is it, would your input be that it's okay for us to do that in between steering committee meetings? Yeah. Okay, great. Um, all right. Anything else about that meeting? It's starting to take shape nicely. Okay, great. Shall we move on to the next piece of the agenda, which is updates on, oh wait, Kelly, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I had one thought. Since we're talking, it sounds like a lot of different people are going to be presenting a lot of similar but not quite the same information, or related but not exactly using the same number data modeling.
Yeah.
Um, it might be helpful as we're getting people lined up for this to make sure they're all aware of what else is on the agenda so that they can, like, I think if I'm sitting through that many presentations and they're all, presenting similar things but slightly different, it might be helpful if they understand who else is on there and can even maybe uh, bounce off each other a little bit and say, like, coming up, you'll be hearing something and they're using this data set or something like that. And maybe I'm not fully understanding
Mhm.
what all the presentations would be like, but if I were one of the people, say from UVM, I'd like to know probably who else is on the agenda and think about that ahead of time before I make my presentation.
Mhm.
Prepare it. Ugh, sorry, still not recovered from
There
the
you go.
vacation. Oh, how do you recover?
No, super clear, Kelly. That's really helpful. Julie, I saw your hand go up with that.
Yeah, I was just to amplify that. I think Kelly is making a really important point. Is we do have a lot of different tools and assessments out there. I think making reminding folks about the role the inventory plays in the Global Warming Solutions Act, but then and how it relates to these other projects feels really important.
Excellent. All right. So let's draw those connections and help everyone ahead of time do that from our presenters. Super. All right. Liz Amler, could you say a word about the new membership on the council and any pending vacancies?
Yeah, thanks. So a few updates. There's a new youth member. I just onboarded Evelyn Margaret from Manchester. She's really excited. And she'll be joining the September council meeting. I've asked her to let me know by that point which subcommittee she'd like to serve on. So we'll get her going with the subcommittee. And Secretary Curl stepped down from her role. So I'm waiting to hear back from Secretary Brooks from Commerce and Community Development, whether he'll be filling that seat or assigning a designee. So we'll have more updates once I find out. And then the current vacancy is with the Vermont Community Action Partnerships. That's been vacant for quite a while now. So I think if anyone has recommendations for filling that role, I'd recommend sending that to Ashley Moore, who facilitates that process with the Senate Committee on Committees to making that appointment. And I'm happy to follow up by email with the steering committee and provide that email address. But that's the current vacancy.
Great. And that needs to be somebody in leadership with a cap agency?
Um, I'm not sure what role they need to have within a cap agency, but they need to be from a cap agency.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, they don't have to be in leadership, just work for a cap agency.
Okay.
David,
Right.
just Liz, I'm not sure if you were going to get to this, and I think when Liz and I discussed this, we thought about bringing this up at your next meeting, but just since we have 1 second, I'll say just a flag that there's a lot of appointments transitioning for the Climate Council in at the end of this year because there are many 3-year appointments. And Liz and I were going to do our due diligence to check those letters, confirmations. And
Hmm.
then, ironically, it's been 3 years since we did the beef up of for the last climate action plan of subcommittees, and we determined that we would align subcommittee membership with those council appointments. So come December, January-ish of this year, we'll lose many subcommittee members too. And we'll go into like a recruitment year for the climate action plan, which is
Hmm.
crazy, but true.
Right. Right.
So
So it's going
just
to be an
flag.
interesting, yeah, it's an interesting time. That should be maybe that's a little note in our council agenda in September as well, right? So that everybody has some visibility about what's going to be coming down and how that's going to be handled. Okay. Anything else on that or any questions for Liz and yeah, Kelly?
Yeah, so I believe Jane, you're referring to the Senate appointees, and I believe all of us, our term rolls over in like October, late October. So it's not the end of the calendar year, I believe.
Great, thank you. I wasn't, Liz and I just knew it was the end of this year, but wasn't sure when. So thank you for clarifying.
Right. And there it's not, I can't remember how it is. Is it like you serve until the uh, replacement is named, or is it you are out? Does anybody remember that?
I I think you're out. I mean, and you know, some of us have been on for multiple terms, so you can also just
Yeah.
say, yeah, I'd like to stick around, and then unless they have a problem with us and our job, they have said, go ahead, stick around. But yeah, if people are not seeking reappointment, I believe then the seat would probably technically be vacant until somebody else was appointed.
Okay, great. Okay. Um, all right, so we have just a minute or two. If folks have been listening in and want to make a comment, public members of the public, non-steering committee members, this is a chance if anybody has something they'd like to chime in on. Just pause for a second here. Okay. All right, so I'll make some notes out of this. Again, it's a little squirrely whether we're actually in a quorum kind of state right now. So this isn't any formal decisions. This is more like three steering committee members offering some ideas. But the ideas that I'm taking down is on the greenhouse gas inventory. That's really important. So if we need to push the meeting in September, let's push the meeting to make that happen. Um, because we'll probably have two other presentations, the UVM one and EAN. Let's make sure all are prepped up so that there's some coherence and people can speak to how these different things relate and how they relate or not to the Global Warming Solutions Act. Um, we'll probably need to tee up this membership issue as well in September so that people have some visibility there. I think that's it. Just actually quick, Kelly and Joey and Julie, when Liz says, probably monthly, do we want to continue the monthly steering committee meetings and quarterly council meetings. Any quick thoughts on that for her? Like, we're not making a decision per se right now, but if she wanted to get stuff on the books, does that feel right?
My thought would be we may not need a steering committee in the month immediately following a climate council meeting, or at least maybe we don't need three between council meetings.
Got it.
Certainly, we
Yeah.
need one right before the council meeting to set the agenda. And maybe we need one right after the council meeting to debrief what happened, and it would be effectively this meeting that's canceled. But it feels like three is more than probably what's needed given the work in front of us at the moment.
Okay. Great. All right. Sounds like we need to think a little bit more on that. And as a steering committee, let's make a decision next time. We do have one more meeting in September prior to the council meeting. So we'll see all of you then, and we'll make some final decisions about the agenda for the September council meeting. And we can also decide this issue of how many steering committee meetings we need in the fall and into next year. Anything else? Super. Have a great week, everyone. Happy Monday.
Thanks so much, all.
Be well.